If you want to know how I went from a casual hobby crocheter to a full-time pattern designer, then stick around. I'll be sharing tips for how to pursue and develop your dreams of becoming a crochet pattern designer. Hi there, I'm Taylor Vento. I own a crochet business called Bags by Vento, and I design bags and accessories. And today I'm talking about crochet pattern designing. I'm really excited to share about my experiences in the hopes that it will help you on your journey to pursuing your dreams of pattern designing. So, how did I even start with crochet pattern designing? The very first step was learning how to follow a crochet pattern. And I actually have a full-length video tutorial for this on my YouTube channel, so I will link it above and you can check that out. I recommend trying out patterns that also have a video tutorial so that you can read the pattern and follow the video at the same time. All of my patterns have video tutorials for this reason, so I recommend checking out my website, bagsbyvento.com, and see if you can find a project that will fit you there that you can practice your pattern reading skills. The next thing I did was look for crochet pattern testing opportunities. These are usually on Instagram. A crochet designer will share an opportunity to test one of their unpublished patterns, and you get a behind the scenes look at how they design their patterns, how they work with other crocheters, make some connections along the way. It can be extremely valuable to get that experience. I often post testing opportunities on my Instagram. You will probably need an Instagram page dedicated to your crochet in order to do this. I actually have an entire post with recommendations for how to become a pattern tester. I will link it in the description below so you can check that out if you're interested. Once I got comfortable reading crochet patterns, I started playing around with creating my own designs. I started by freehanding, which just means crocheting without a pattern, and I'd take notes along the way so that when I created something I really liked, I had those notes to refer back to so I could make it again. Now, I get a lot of inspiration from things that I need. So for example, I needed some plant hangers, so I designed some hanging baskets. You can actually see that free tutorial here. And I create things like this all the time, rugs and bags and things that I need in my everyday life. Now, some people get inspired by nature or certain colors, and all those things are wonderful. But what you should not be inspired by are other crochet patterns. You should start your design process from the very beginning without any influence from another crochet pattern. So how do you be sure that your crochet design is original to you and not just an adaptation of another design? Well, there are a few questions that you can ask yourself. Is your pattern written word for word the same way as another one? Is it using the exact same color and or materials as a similar design? Is it the same exact thing with just a couple of differences? If you say yes to any of these questions, you might have an adaptation versus an original design. If you want to share a project that is adapted from another crochet pattern, that is okay. You just need to credit that designer, and you should not sell a pattern for this item just because it has a couple of differences. I would strongly recommend that if you write a pattern, write it with your own words and style from the very beginning, not borrowing things from this and borrowing things from that, because that's where you can get yourself in trouble. If you're enjoying this video so far, do me a favor and hit that like button, and don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss future videos, and I will be able to keep creating content like this so that I can help more crocheters. My very first crochet pattern was a super simple coaster. And that's okay, simple isn't bad, and that's not necessarily an adaptation either because it was written in my own words and style with my own flair. So keep that in mind. Just because something's simple doesn't mean you shouldn't share it with other people. I initially wrote my first pattern in a Google Doc, and I sent it to a friend of mine and asked them to read it and test it for me. A lot of people think they need to do these big tester calls to all of their following, and in the very beginning it can be hard to get people to respond. So I recommend finding a few friends with similar interests to you and helping each other out. They can test for you, you can test for them, and as your following grows, you can do tester calls in the future. Eventually, I developed a crochet pattern template in Canva that I use for all of my designs, and I actually sell a few of these templates in my shop for aspiring crochet designers so that you don't have to go through the process of figuring out how to format a pattern and make it look nice. You can just fill out the sections and add your own personality. I'll put the link to those in the description below. So in the beginning, I shared my patterns for free on my blog so I could get feedback and improve my pattern writing skills. I'm not gonna lie, in the beginning, I got some pretty not so great feedback, and that's okay, that's how you learn. But eventually, when I found some of my patterns were doing really well and I was getting a lot of positive feedback, I started exploring the possibility of making money off of them. So in order to figure out how much to charge for my patterns, I use an app called Crochet.land, and this helps me track my time that I spend on the design process. I also keep note of the cost of materials to make the item during the design process and any other costs that come up. It's really important to keep track of how much you're spending on creating this pattern so that you can hopefully recover those costs in the long run. The next thing I would do is research similar items to mine in the same category. So for example, if I designed a crochet rug, I would look up crochet rug patterns on Etsy, Ravelry, or Pinterest and find out what a ballpark range was for similar items. A few things to consider when you're pricing your pattern is how unique is it? Can people find this anywhere else? Does it include a video tutorial? How much time and material cost did you put into it? And when you're thinking about all these things, along with that ballpark range you found from researching similar items, you can come up with a price that you feel comfortable with. Now, I tend to lean towards overpricing versus underpricing because you can always run sales or lower your price. It's a little bit more challenging to increase your price and keep up the demand. Lastly, you need to market your crochet pattern. You have to tell people about it. I find it helpful to post my patterns in several different places: Etsy, Ravelry, Pinterest, my own website, and this way there's more opportunities for my pattern to show up in a Google search. I also market my patterns on social media. I run ads for the pattern temporarily on places like Etsy and Instagram. A common strategy these days is to do a YouTube tutorial for a crochet pattern and either offer a paid PDF option and a free pattern on their blog, or just the paid PDF option. This can work really well for established designers, but it can be a bit of a challenge for new designers to recover the cost of creating that pattern. But if you're okay with waiting on your investment to be paid back, it can be great for your long-term growth. Obviously, if you're not a video person, you don't have to do a video tutorial for your patterns. You can just stick to advertising your PDFs. So my current process is to keep a running list of pattern ideas. I schedule time for myself to experiment with new designs. I choose from that list. When I have a pattern that I'm really excited about and ready to move forward with, I contact a tech editor. A tech editor is a professional crochet pattern editor, and they're amazing. I highly recommend investing in one. They're worth every penny. It can really make you a better designer in the long run. Once my pattern is edited, I do a tester call on Instagram and create a Google form for people to apply. I will choose crochet pattern testers. Typically, I choose 5 to 10 depending on what the project is. And I will start corresponding back and forth with them, helping them with any troubleshooting or issues they're having with the pattern. Once I have made all the edits to the pattern that I need to make, I will launch and then market the hell out of it. So if you are ready to start your journey to crochet pattern designing, I will support you every step of the way. Feel free to email me at bagsbybento@gmail.com, or you can comment your questions below. I am right here to help. Thanks so much, guys. I will see you next time. Happy crocheting.